Welcome. This is Ken Barron. I'm with the National Association of Black and White Men Together. Today, I'd like to ask you to subscribe, to like us, or comment below, and we'll give you a chance to respond to what we're talking about here. Thank you for listening. Today, Biden and Justice Bryer. That's our topic, and now it's fascinating to watch as people work themselves up about Joe Biden committing to choose a Supreme Court nominee from the group that has long been overlooked. That's black women. It is indeed identity politics and affirmative action, they scream. The irony here is that President Ronald Reagan, the Republicans' patron saint before the rise of Trump, made a similar promise in 1980 when he was in trouble with women for not supporting the Equal Rights Amendment. He promised to nominate a woman. Again, the word white was silent, and that's how we got Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Brian Tyler Cohen, one of my favorite podcasters, said it best in this podcast, which I'll show in this very small snippet of his replying to the concept here of this new Supreme Court nominee.
Okay, some good news, or at least some news that is not bad news. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Bryer has announced that he'll be retiring at the end of this term, and that ends more than a year of this will he, won't he speculation, and also allows our collective blood pressure to go down for a fleeting moment. Now, I do want to put this into perspective here. Biden naming Breyer's replacement won't do anything to change the ideological makeup of the court. It'll stay a 6-3 court. But what it will do is prevent the court from shifting to 7-2 if a Republican president took office and something were to happen to Bryer, who also happens to be the oldest justice on the bench. Like, 6-3 is not good, but it is a hell of a lot better than what would be a cataclysmic shift at 7-2. Now, Biden's promised to nominate a black woman to the court, standing by this promise from his campaign.
I committed that if I'm elected president and have an opportunity to appoint someone to the courts, I'll appoint the first black woman to the courts. It's required that they have representation now. It's long overdue.
And yet, even despite promising this on the campaign trail, still the right is having a collective fainting spell at such glaring reverse racism at play here. Like 200 years of plucking snow-white justices out of country clubs was fine, but Biden intends to nominate, doesn't even nominate, just intends to nominate one black woman, and suddenly we're concerned about fair practices when it comes to race. Like, come on now. Jonathan Turley, who was the lawyer who Republicans called to testify during Trump's impeachment trial, claiming that Trump offering up military assistance to Ukraine in exchange for the favor of dirt on Joe Biden somehow wasn't a quid pro quo, he took to Twitter and wrote, quote, "Biden is now going to create one of the most jarring and incongruous moments in the history of the Supreme Court when the justices will hear arguments on the use of race in admissions. One member will have been selected initially through an exclusionary criteria of race and sex." In other words, he's arguing against the unprecedented use of certain criteria to select a Supreme Court justice.
We have learned over decades and decades of struggle that in this great country there's always more than one qualified candidate for any top job. And that includes the Supreme Court. But we need to watch the selection process to make sure the folks in charge aren't always just picking the qualified people they're most comfortable with. If we hadn't got past that, we would never have gotten past a table full of white guys for everything. Well, I want to belong to a political party that knows how to win while embracing inclusion. However, as usual, when it comes to our current president, I have to admit the messaging has been clumsy. Remember, Joe Biden limped into the Southern Carolina primaries in 2020. He had finished 4th in Iowa, 5th in New Hampshire, and a distant second in Nevada. During a debate just days before voting began in South Carolina, Biden made a promise to black voters. Everyone is entitled to be treated with dignity, and everyone should be represented on the Supreme Court, he said. I'm looking forward to making sure there's a black woman on the Supreme Court to make sure we, in fact, get every representation. Well, this opening on the court could not have come at a better time for Biden. He is struggling in the polls, unable to overcome Republican obstructionism and resistance from his own party to deliver on several of the major promises had made to black voters, such as passing federal police reforms and voter protection. Poll after poll is pointing to a growing dissatisfaction amongst black voters. No Justice Biden nominates can change the ideological balance of the court significantly, but all new justices change the dynamic on the court. And every time an excluded group is included, that is good for the institution and its credibility. It is important, I believe, that black people have a black person on the court more in tune with the views of the community of black folks than Clarence Thomas, the lone black justice for the past 30 years. It has always struck me as a tragedy that Thomas was chosen to replace the liberal lion Thurgood Marshall. Only when we remove the concepts of whiteness and maleness from the concept of power can we see the damage the association has done. Only then can we truly accept and celebrate the power of inclusion, diversity, and equity. Only then can representative democracy in a pluralistic society begin to live up to its ideals. Thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Ken Barron. I'm with the National Association of Black and White Men Together. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and many other platforms. Please like us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Hoping to hear from you soon.